KL Rahul's doing a great job. Stark with his tail up.
Oh, got him. The little edge, the ball, I think it's out. I wonder, there was so definitely a noise for me.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review for a catch behind.
Snicko mix.
I've got a spike as the ball is passing the outside edge. I'm going to have to ask you to reverse your decision to out.
Real disaffection from KL Rahul. He cannot believe it.
Pat Cummins yet to pick up Jaiswal in the series.
I think it might have taken glove here. They have reviewed it straight away. This could be the game for Australia. They think it hits the glove.
Oh, hello.
What?
I can see a clear deflection of the glove. The ball has made contact with the gloves. Joel, you need to change your decision.
And out is the verdict. I'll tell you what the third umpire has done here. He's gone by visual evidence. Even if he didn't see enough of the murmur, he's gone by visual evidence. Now the batter's having a word with the umpires.
Snicko doesn't pick it up, but Jaiswal has to go for 84.
At least 4 DRS decisions during the recent Gavaskar Trophy triggered serious debate, all involving RTS or real-time Snicko. ESPN Cricinfo caught up with former international umpire Marais Erasmus, 3-time winner of the ICC's Umpire of the Year award and a veteran of nearly 400 international matches till his recent retirement in 2024. Before we get into the dismissals, umpire Erasmus stated it is important for us to understand a key distinction between the two different technologies used for international cricket. Hawkeye and Ultra Edge, used in most other countries including India, and Virtual Eye and RTS, used in Australia. Are they both exactly the same technology?
Trying to give us the same outcome, but I think they are set up slightly differently and the outcome works slightly differently. Real-time Snicko, we always have the snick just maybe one frame later than when it actually happened, and therefore the umpires are taught to interpret it in that way. Where with the Ultra Edge, which is a Hawkeye product, the snick is at the time of when it's in the frame. Sometimes it might go into the next frame or start in the previous frame, but it's more immediately. I think probably easier for the viewers to understand, where real-time Snicko sometimes can give the impression that it's after the fact, but that's how that technology actually works.
Umpire Erasmus clarifies a common misconception that Snicko is the final adjudicator in case of a caught behind.
What's important and maybe not as commonly understood is that when we go through the whole process, we obviously start with a video replay first. We call it like front on. That can be the definitive answer because we're trying to look for conclusive evidence. And in one of the examples, and I'm sure we'll go through it, the decision was made on video because maybe there was a technical failure of some other parts of the product. But we can use video, for instance, to get clarification. So all these tools are we trying to get to the correct answer. And I think these are great examples of how TV umpires did not lose their cool. They went through the process, ignored things that at the time maybe wasn't working, and got the right outcome.
Now, keeping that in mind, 2 decisions become a lot easier for us to understand. Akashdeep in Melbourne and Washington Sundar in Sydney.
The ball is very close to the bat. You can make an argument that you can even see a deflection, but that might just be the angle of the ball in its delivery anyway. But in this particular case, because of the technology they use in Australia, it's always just one frame later, maybe sometimes 1.5 or 2 frames later. So there's an obvious spike and we can see, but the ball is actually past the bat. But that's how this technology works. It's different to Ultra Edge that's used by Hawkeye. And then if this was an Hawkeye match, I'm sure that that spike would have been exactly when the ball was next to the bat. So this is, to me, maybe just a case of, and we've had this for a long time, this is the technology used in Australia, and it should be common knowledge between commentators who can then sell this and say, yep, clear one. But if the commentators don't know and are used to ultra edge, which is used more often, then obviously those doubts are there, and then a controversy follows. So this particular decision was immensely difficult for the guy on the field, because it only just brushes the bottom of a glove, and therefore we won't have much of a spike, because it's just like a glancey blow on a glove. And again, just remembering that the Snick will come a little late in this technology. So yeah, very difficult even for the TV umpire. In this case, again, I feel correct decision made. Complications for this one was all the gremlins we had on this line long before the ball got to that glove, and that can be from a foot scraping, it can be from other noises. So again, technology complicated matters here, which should have been maybe just an easy decision for the television umpire.
On to the big ones now. KL Rahul in Perth and Yashasvi Jaiswal in Melbourne.
If you look at the framing here, the one on the right-hand side, when you see Rahul's back, so that's not going to be very helpful. And the other one is from the leg side, and the ball is obviously mainly on the offside. I think in this particular case, and it was a super difficult decision for the on-field umpire as well, because there's obviously a couple of noises, and the bat hitting the pad, and which one is which. And I think that unfortunately the framing, as we refer to it, was poorly done, and I think an easy decision became a controversial decision. In the end, there was definitely bat as well. Yes, he did hit his pad as well, but if the framing was slightly better, at the front on part maybe of the split screen, combined with something from the offside, and a Snicko that was maybe at the event and not one frame, this would have been an easy sellable decision, which was complicated because the framing wasn't brilliant. Yeah, this angle definitely confirms that, and therefore sometimes a TV umpire, if he has a lack of framing in the split screen when it comes to real-time Snicko or ultra edge, he needs to marry other visuals and build a history. So we love to have one shot that actually sells the decision, but in some cases you need to marry a few shots to sell that decision. And you can maybe refer to it as a TV umpire to sell it. Yes, I can see him hitting his bat before he then hits the ball. And in that case, the viewers can understand where the umpire is coming, but in that, it's easier for us now. We've seen this clip many times, but in that moment, you're trying to get obviously the right communication gone through, and you're trying to make an important decision, and that the time is running, and all those pressures are obviously part of it. But again, I think the bottom line is a slightly better product from the real-time Snicko guys could have made it a much easier decision and a less controversial one. This will not sell it. That's what we got on the screen now. Okay. But something else again, which complicates this matter, is if you can see where the ball is just under his right arm there, and that is one frame, maybe even two frames after the fact, and then there's the definitive spike only for potentially it hitting the bat. And I know a TV umpire shouldn't, at the moment use words like potentially. I think if in this particular case the TV umpire decided that Rahul was not out, we would have had to live with that as well. He went the other way because he felt he had evidence, and I actually go with that is the correct decision, that he did actually got bat on it as well.
Rahul's wicket, as umpire Erasmus points out, was made complicated because of the TV ump not having a front-on replay. Why and how could that possibly have happened? Hemant Buch, a seasoned broadcast director at the international level for 3 decades, explains.
There are two different systems at play. One system, which is used everywhere else in the world, uses fixed cameras. There are 6 fixed cameras which they use, 2 front on, 1 each on either side, and 4 side on, the run-out cameras, and they marry up the pictures from that. But this particular technology, which is used only in Australia, uses a different format. They go in with using the broadcast cameras, which are the spin vision cameras at either end, and as we saw here, the mid-wicket camera. Now the problem with both is that they are moving cameras, and with moving cameras, you are moving with the ball. It's a camera which requires tremendous amounts of skill and concentration to operate. And because if you miss any ball at the top or the bottom, then you cannot use that particular ball to show to the umpire. It's with mid wicket as well. Mid wicket, as we saw here, you could see the batsman's back and not the other side. The umpire asked for the other side, the TV umpire, and the other side was not available for some reason. I'm not sure why that camera was not available. Maybe that camera was down, but again, they were using a camera which was moving, so it is more difficult. And with moving cameras, with the ball moving at that pace, you can always miss. That happens because there are two different technologies at play, and this particular technology seems to work with moving cameras rather than with fixed cameras.
I think they think they're onto something here. I think it might have taken glove here. They have reviewed it straight away. This could be the game.
He was probably hoping for just a bit of a help with the RTS just to confirm what he's seeing. But the flat line comes up, but there's a major change of direction from the ball. A ball obviously then hits the glove. In this particular case, it might have even touch the bat or just run on the face of the bat there, but definitely touch the glove. In this particular case, it's a great example of, yes, we're looking at the tools, and the tools what we refer to normally as the Snicko and the ball tracking, but the video evidence is also important. And sometimes we can see a massive inside edge on an LBW decision on the video, and we don't even go to the tools. And this is another case where, video evidence was good enough to overrule all other the tools that in this particular case didn't actually work. So again, fantastic decision, and in that moment to be brave enough to stick with your feeling that or what you saw, to believe in that is brave from the umpire. If there was less of a deviation, it would have been far more difficult for him to make that call, but luckily there was a real deviation to the leg side. Optical illusions is definitely part of what we see. Sometimes we think the ball actually swung in and then it didn't. But in this particular case, clear cut out. And it's controversial because RTS didn't work in this particular case. Potentially it slid off the face, that might not have made a massive noise, and then it hits the glove. But to have nothing, I think it's more a case of that particular microphone was maybe not on or not functioning at the time. To have nothing, and with most of the other decisions right through the whole series, there's always been some gremlins or some activity to suddenly have a line. That's probably just what happened. It wasn't functioning at the time.
Snicko not working? How and why does that happen? Erasmus and Booch both weigh in.
I know there's a switch sometimes from when they change end of the over. I don't know which ball of the over it was, so maybe that was not done end of the over. It can be something as simple as that particular microphone just wasn't on that side. Sometimes, those things can happen. It does have to, they do have to do manually.
Few things that can go wrong. Sometimes the edge is soft. Sometimes there are a few noises that happen together. They've got to scrub off the extraneous noise and identify and isolate the sound of the bat and the ball sort of getting together or not getting together, as the case may be. And there is a manual element involved there as well. Sometimes, of course, the stump mics don't pick something up. There is stump mics fail as well. It is possible that it can fail at times.
All right, but all this still leaves us wondering, why then does the TV umpire rely almost solely on RTS in Rahul's case while ignoring its results completely in Jaiswal's? And is this leading to a grey area instead of absolute clarity, which is what we expect when it comes to the findings of technology? We don't argue with ball tracker after all, do we?
Potentially, yes, a grey area, you can describe it like that. With the Ultra Edge or the real-time Snicko, sometimes we have gremlins on the line. So it's clearly that the ball isn't close to bat pad or anything, but there's some spikes there. And those are the challenging ones. And I think one of the examples is like that. There's already something happening, and wherever that noise comes from, we're not always certain. I think you get a feel as a TV umpire during the first couple of minutes of how the spikes are. Luckily, while we're sitting in our position, we have access that might not go out to broadcast at the time of the noises on the split screen that we have in front of us. So we can see the spikes of the day, because they are calibrated every day and they might not be exactly the same as the previous day. So we've got to interpret. But there's definitely softer sounds made by pad or glove, and sharper sounds made potentially by bat or helmet or things like that. So there is an interpretation. But it's not an absolute guide, and you have to have a feel for in the moment, and you obviously marry it with the visuals. But when it comes to ball tracking, the only time a TV umpire will interfere with ball tracking is when there's a total mistake. For instance, I was involved in a test match during COVID. South Africa played Bangladesh in Durban, where the striker was given out was a left-handed, and the animation came up as if he was a right-handed. So that was a blatant error, and the TV umpire picked up on it. Message was sent, and it was rectified. So it obviously took a few more minutes, but and that's just basically a human error of a technician putting in right-handed batsman where he should have put in left-handed batsman. So they, in those particular cases. Other cases, when we think it was an in-swinger and Hawkeye shows it's an out-swinger and it's smashing into the stumps, those things we will never override because we trust in the technology. And it's sometimes what we perceive is not really what happened. And obviously, if we're emotionally involved, we see things the way we want to. If you're an Indian supporter and you think all four went against you, I can tell you now they were all four correct.
Indian fans might still feel hard done by in at least some of these decisions, given that the on-field call in each case was not out and then overturned by the TV umpire. We often believe that the TV ump definitively requires conclusive evidence to overturn the on-field call. Now, is that a hard rule or just a guideline?
It's a principle in how we do look at it. I think if these four decisions were all out, it would have been much easier for the TV umpire to get to those decisions. But in this particular case, he believed he had evidence, and I agree with most of that. I did mention that one decision, if he did say not out, and then we could have lived with that as well, because there was enough reason, but he was brave enough to give that one out.
Finally, how can cricket's decision review system be further improved, if at all?
Well, the system will improve with technology improving. There's also, if you see, the operators are more experienced, there is a better chance of the right decision being made and the right decision being made more quickly, because they know where to look for the pitfalls, they know what the problems could be, and they can get from point A to point B much quicker. And a lot of times, the technology is only as strong as its weakest link, and most times the weakest link is the human element. And we have a lot of operators who come, young people who come and travel the world for a year and a half, and then move on. That's something which I would like to see changed. I would like to see, the company being able to hold on to their experienced operators. And there is an immense amount of difference in the quality that is offered up when the operator is, much more experienced and of a higher quality than somebody who's just learning.
I'm not sure if it can be, but if you look at it where we were in 2008 when we started, when the first Sri Lanka-India test match was under DRS, our ball tracking improved. I'm sure the technology will get better and better, and we'll get better sound technology as well. There were days during the 2013 Ashes in England when umpires were heavily criticised because we didn't have any Snicko tools when we had to go on clean audio. And if hotspot failed in those days, which was our first tool we used, then we had to go to audio. Now at least we've got ultra H and real-time Snicko, which is gives us the outcome, so more often, the correct outcome so more often. So I'm sure, if you ask these technical boys, they'll say yes, it will improve and it will get so much better. There was a time where the TV umpire wasn't allowed to use the predictive path of ball tracking. So you could see pitching and impact, and then he took a ruler and put it on the face of the screen in front of him, which to me was archaic, and I was involved in a series that's how we did it. And so, yeah. But I think the theatre that technology has brought to cricket in the last 10, 15 years is, phenomenal. People sit and have a drink, and the moment a review comes up, they put it down and they watch. And, it's a fantastic selling point for cricket.